This is just going to be a quick video about my thoughts on the thoughts about France. Now, I understand that there's been a lot going on in the world recently, and the things that happened in Paris on Friday weren't the only things to rock the world that day. But the old adage is true, however it shouldn't be, that it's easy to overlook if it didn't happen to you. I'm not saying that I don't empathise with the people in the other situations, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to be talking primarily about France. And it's not just in the way that it's, France is just across the border from me because I'm in England, but my parents were in Paris at the time of the attacks, which obviously was terrifying for me at the time. I don't want to ramble too much, but there's a lot going on up there, so sorry if this comes out a bit muddled. On the subject of people sharing things of the sort, there's two sides to it. There's people sharing, outpouring support for France. There's people sharing posts that are saying, well, you're all hypocrites, why aren't you crying for Syria and Lebanon and stuff like that? And I agree that it's problematic that we aren't sharing the plight of everyone in the world. But chastising people for sympathising with a country that's just been rocked by a devastating incident isn't the way forward. We shouldn't be whipping out our dicks and comparing sizes at this point. That's not what the world needs right now. The world needs unity. So instead of chastising people for sympathising with France, perhaps sympathise with France as well as the other countries. Don't call people out and say, well, I'm not going to unite with France because they're not uniting with the rest of the world, or because people aren't. Someone made a very good point earlier. There was a little post saying that it was a hypocritical world, and it had a globe sitting in an armchair weeping over Paris but not over the other countries. And they said this signified the global media not taking a stance that incorporated other people's plights into it. So don't chastise friends or family that are grieving and mourning. And maybe at the minute don't chastise the global media. Give people time. Everyone's very raw and emotional right now. But when the time comes, when people can handle it again, maybe then try and instill a systemic change in the media, because that's what we need. We need the global media to fairly represent the plight of the entire world, not just the Western world. But more on that another time. I've rambled too long on that. I have a real issue with people sharing stuff about the border control as well. People saying that we need to close the border straight off. Extremist ideologies will spread whether we close the border or not. Ideologies can spread via the internet, it can spread from person to person. Closing the borders isn't going to stop the ideologies penetrating the minds of young Britons, young French people, young people from any backgrounds. We don't know all the facts yet. 2 Syrian passports were found on 2 of the bodies, which were found to be fakes. I'll link below to stuff pertaining to that. One of the attackers was a French national, born and bred there, who had come to learn the ideologies. I think at a time like this, my main issue is that all the sharing of Britain First and racist propaganda and stuff like this, it's this sort of segregation that causes these issues in the first place. We need to stand united in times like this. On the subject of which, the morning of the attack, the attack happened at night, but the morning of, our national press was gloating, was praising the death of Jihadi John. Now, Jihadi John was an evil man, he was an extremist. But our press was revelling in the fact that they had killed this man, however evil he was, gloating and praising this man's death, that ISIS is claiming is the reason these counterattacks happened. And we have social justice warriors on Facebook going on there saying, we need to burn all of them, we need to kill them all, etc. And this sort of mob mentality, this white extremism primarily, there's a lot of white Britons I've seen who are talking about killing all Muslims, which is another issue I'm going to go into in a minute. So many of them don't understand the difference between Muslims and extremists, which to me in 2015 is ridiculous. This sort of extremist viewpoint is ironic. We need to take a step back and take a look in the mirror and ask if they're much different. Gloating about the death of your fellow man, however evil, is moronic. An eye for an eye would make the world blind. And I'm afraid that's the way that... I mean, I know tensions are high, emotions are raw, and people are scared. So they want to share posts saying that they won't back down and they're personally going to take on ISIS and terrorists. But it's mainly the people who have no sort of education or idea of who their fellow man is. Don't be a dick to Muslims. Be a dick to extremists. On both sides of the border. All extremists. If you see someone sharing something about capping off the refugees, these people who are trying to flee war-torn country, the people who are trying to flee the very people that we're scared of, then educate them. Understand them. Be emphatic with them, because they obviously don't have the capacity to understand what's going on in the world. I don't claim I have all the answers. I just know at a time like this we need to stop sharing all the bullshit propaganda, and we need to unite as one and just show each other some basic compassion and love. Stay safe.